Welcome, executives and industry leaders, to this strategic explainer. Today, we're framing 5G not just as some flashy consumer tech upgrade for faster smartphone downloads, but as a real fundamental catalyst for industry-wide transformation and bottom-line growth. So, if you've been wondering how this next era of connectivity actually impacts your daily operations, well, you're definitely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. We'll be tracing the evolution of connectivity, examining the massive 5G performance leap, breaking down the core technologies unlocking these new capabilities, looking at the global transformation across industries, and finally, looking toward the 6G horizon.
All right, Section 1, the evolution of connectivity, from analog voices to hyper-connected systems. Looking back, there's a pretty clear progression here, right? In the 1980s, 1G gave us basic analog voice calls. The 90s brought 2G and digital SMS text messaging. The 2000s introduced 3G and the very beginnings of the mobile internet, which led right into the 2010s, where 4G LTE made mobile broadband and video streaming a daily reality. But here is the absolutely critical takeaway for your business. 1G through 4G, those were primarily consumer upgrades. They changed how people communicate. 5G, however, is a foundational shift. It is the era of hyperconnectivity, designed literally from the ground up to enable massive device connectivity, machine-to-machine communication, and fully smart systems. Simply put, it's built for the enterprise.
Moving on to Section 2, the 5G performance leap. Let's look at the metrics that matter. Now, what's really interesting about this data is that we aren't just looking at incremental updates anymore. Compared to 4G, 5G delivers up to 20 gigabits per second in peak download speeds. That is a 10x to 100x improvement. But honestly, look at the latency, dropping all the way down to just 1 to 10 milliseconds. To put that into perspective, a human eye blink takes about 300 milliseconds. So 5G reacts almost instantaneously. And when we talk about industrial scaling, device density absolutely skyrockets from about 100,000 devices per square kilometer to a staggering 1 million devices. I mean, 5G just completely eclipses 4G.
Which brings us to Section 3, technologies unlocking new capabilities. Let's peek under the hood at the engine of 5G.
First up is massive MIMO. MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output. By using tens to literally hundreds of antennas on a single base station, massive MIMO effectively exploits the spatial domain. So instead of a single antenna just blindly blasting a signal everywhere, these advanced arrays focus signals exactly where the devices actually are. For your business, this is a real game changer. It solves major network capacity bottlenecks, drastically improving coverage and throughput even in densely populated or heavily congested industrial areas.
Next, we have mobile edge computing, or MEC. Imagine a busy factory floor. Step 1, a sensor detects a dangerous anomaly. Step 2, instead of sending that critical data all the way to some distant centralized cloud to be processed, the edge processes that data locally, right there on the premises. Step 3, the machine is halted in less than 1 millisecond. By putting the network's brain right next to its hands on the factory floor, edge computing slashes latency, enabling true, real-time industrial automation.
But, that brings up a fairly critical question for any executive managing high-stakes operations. How exactly do we guarantee that a remote surgical robot or an autonomous vehicle navigating a busy smart city never ever loses connection or experiences a lag spike? Well, the answer is network slicing. Basically, 5G allows us to take a single, shared physical network and slice it up into multiple, virtual, highly tailored networks. Think of it like creating dedicated VIP toll lanes specifically for your company's most mission-critical data. A hospital, for example, can have a slice purely dedicated to telemedicine, and that slice is completely isolated, totally free from the interference of regular consumer mobile traffic, like folks streaming videos in the waiting room. And it's exactly because of that dedicated slicing that we can hit this massive number, 99.999%. This is the URLC, or Ultra Reliable Low Latency Communication Standard. Let's face it, when you're dealing with telesurgery or autonomous driving or operating massive robotic port cranes, 99% reliability just isn't going to cut it. You absolutely need those 5 nines of reliability to ensure absolute, uninterrupted control. So, to summarize this technology engine, you should really view 5G as 3 distinct tools in your strategic toolkit. You've got eMBB for massive bandwidth needs. Think high-definition video and augmented reality. Then you have URLLC for that mission-critical, absolutely no-fail operational control we just talked about. And finally, you have MMTC for deploying incredibly dense IoT sensor networks. Essentially, you deploy the right tool for the right operational need. Let's move into Section 4, Transforming Global Industries Real-Time. This is where we look at tangible ROI and operational shifts. And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world impact. Look at the Seoul Samsung Medical Center deployment. Traditional surgery is geographically constrained by the physical presence of a specialist, right? You have to be in the room. But with 5G remote surgery, using a combination of EMBB for live 3D high-definition video and URLLC for real-time control, surgeons can actually provide guidance via AR glasses with completely negligible lag. It distributes top-tier medical expertise globally without flying a single doctor across the world. Pretty incredible. Over in the manufacturing sector, a Finnish wood mill recently trialed 5G-powered augmented reality right on their factory floor. Workers wore AR headsets that literally overlaid virtual 3D models directly onto the physical machinery. Because 5G provides that massive extra bandwidth needed for rich visual assistance without the lag, the mill reported that this setup directly and immediately boosts maintenance efficiency. I mean, that is practical, powerful ROI right on the factory floor for sure. The transport sector is also entirely reimagining logistics. We're currently seeing autonomous ferries in Norway and dedicated 5G self-driving car corridors over in Sweden. Because 5G offers such an ultra-reliable, low-latency uplink, these massive vessels and vehicles can process huge amounts of environmental sensor data and navigate safely in real time. And they're doing this completely without human pilots. For public sector and civic leaders, just look at what Oslo is doing with smart cities. They're utilizing 5G network slicing to aggressively protect public safety protocols. During an incident, ambulance devices and body cams automatically switch over to a high-priority 5G slice that guarantees 1 to 5 milliseconds of latency. Regular mobile traffic in the area is just automatically throttled down to ensure this mission-critical emergency traffic remains completely uninterrupted. It's an absolute lifesaver. Finally, let's look at utilities. In Sweden, over 2 million smart electricity meters are connected nationwide using IoT networks supported by a 5G backbone. This perfectly demonstrates that MMTC, or Massive Machine Type Communication capability, it can support millions of devices per square kilometer, allowing for real-time grid usage monitoring and automated billing on a massive countrywide scale. All right, final section, Section 5, the horizon, towards 6G, future-proofing your enterprise. Let's move to and see how this builds for the future. The infrastructure, the network slicing, the edge computing you deploy today, all of that serves as the foundational bedrock, paving the way for future 6G innovations. Adopting 5G today is not just about keeping up with the Joneses. It is a totally necessary strategic prerequisite to ensure your company actually has the architecture ready for the next decade of technological leaps. Which brings us to the ultimate strategic imperative. The speeds, the ultra-low latency, the massive device connectivity, these tools are currently active in the market right now. So the real question is your business ready to harness the era of hyperconnectivity to transform your operations? Or will you let your competitors leverage it to leave you completely behind? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. I really encourage you to look at your operational bottlenecks today and ask yourself how 5G can eliminate them tomorrow.